Forrest. How are
Lonnie,
you?
how's it going today?
Yeah, good to see you here in Manassas.
Oh my God,
the
your flight.
Salisbury Center.
Tell us about Somerville office in Myrtle Beach. Everybody, they're really doing great, huh?
Oh, they're really doing great. We're excited about the spring market. You know, spring hits a little earlier in the South,
Yes.
and things are starting to bloom and starting to happen. We're really excited.
Well, I sent you some snow. Did you guys get that?
Yeah, I sent it back.
I
Don't
should have
do
sent
that
you
again.
I should have sent you a shovel and then some
Well,
snow.
there's a reason I moved south, and I did not bring a snow shovel with me. So,
But
just to
even
let you know.
even coming back here, your flight was like delayed.
It was a nightmare. I do not miss those weekly flights. I'm telling you. I used to do that every Monday morning. I would fly to DC, and every Friday I would fly back, and just like clockwork. And I was sitting at the airport yesterday. I'm just like, oh my God, I don't miss this at all. So it's kind of nice. But anyways, today we're going to talk about 2025 forecast for the real estate market, which I'm pretty excited about this conversation. See where it goes.
I am too. I think there's an optimist always sees opportunity, and a pessimist always sees a reason not to act. So real true professionals in this industry are just simply looking for the opportunities in every market.
Absolutely.
I remember when we were both at Remax Olympic before we started Condo Plaster. Frank Moore was there, and Frank was just a great agent. And interest rates are like 10 or 11% at that time. And we were saying, I wish they could be a little bit better. And he'd say, I can't believe you guys are complaining. When I started, interest rates were 18.5%, and you had to pay 2 points.
Yep,
So it's like, you always have to look at the historical reference and see the opportunities, because in every market, regardless of the market, there's opportunity.
Well, it's perspective, right? And we started in the early 90s. So we had if you remember, the Resolution Trust Corporation took over, commercial real estate just basically collapsed.
Yeah, 89, it collapsed, and I got licensed March of 90. I really got into a hot market.
Exactly. And then we did, 9/11? We were at Condo Plaster. Things shut down for it was like 3 or 4 months, right? It was pretty crazy. And then, of course, 2006, 2007, 2008. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen some good markets. We've seen some bad markets. And always through every market, I'm a glass half full person. You're a glass half full person. We always find the opportunity, right?
We always find the opportunity.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have been in the market and in the real estate industry for a long time, and they have a certain base knowledge, but they really don't want to grow. And the reason I just love being partners with you is we're constantly growing together. There's constantly just what new information is available. Like keeping current matters is a true statement, but it's also a site that you and I have been a part of for decades.
Since it started.
Yeah. What is the new information? What's out there? We had a professional, Art Grace, on our podcast, and Art is the same way when it comes to real estate settlements and law and agency law. He wants to be on the front end of it. So there is an advantage to being a long time in the market when you're keeping up with the market. And that type of a market, a lot of folks that are realtors today have not experienced anything other than a seller's market.
Yep.
They haven't experienced a buyer's market where not only the prices are stagnant and just sitting there, but with inactivity, they actually are declining. That is not an issue that most people in the real estate industry today. Now, there are people out there just like us that have been part of that.
Sure.
And you were talking about 90. From 1990 when I got in the business, it wasn't until the spring of 1999 that over in Stonington, I had a property listed, and somebody offered a couple thousand more because there were multiple offers. First time I had seen it in my real estate career. Been
in
9
a decade.
years.
That was a decade, right?
And it was only a couple thousand more, but it didn't appraise.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the appraiser said, well, we don't have anything to substantiate it. And I said, well, if prices don't ever go up,
Sure.
and you're always looking in the rear view mirror, then you'll never have anything to substantiate it.
No,
So prices started working up, and we started seeing the elevation of prices and multiple offers and that sort of thing. But in different markets, you have different strategies, and not every market provides the same opportunities. But with the right vision, you see the opportunities of the future.
And you sold houses in the 90s. I sold houses
yeah,
in the 90s.
yeah.
So it was a very challenging period of time, but we still made it happen, right? People still needed a place to live. They still were investing in real estate.
And life happens.
Life happens.
They get transferred with a job. They get transferred out of the area with the job. People get divorced. There's death. Without going too dark, you families grow. They need bigger homes. The need for housing is not fixated around interest rates and prices.
Yeah. Well, hey, before we talk about 2025, let's step back to 2024 a little bit, because I think the first thing you need to do in every situation is acknowledge when something is tough, right? Yes. And I will say 2024, I've said this a number of times, I think was probably one of the more challenging years that I've seen in the industry. And, we still, as a nation, we still sold 4.6, million homes, transferred ownership. And so, there were still houses selling, but it was challenging. And some of the reasons it was challenging was in August, what did we have? We had the August 17th NAR settlement, that started just making agents feel a little uncomfortable. We saw the market kind of slow down. And then, of course, the interest rate environment, right, in 2024. People still getting used to higher interest rates. And then we get through August, we get through September, and what happens in October and November? We have a presidential election, right, which makes people feel a little uncomfortable. Well, the election is done. We got through the election, and then the next thing people were waiting for is, oh my God, we need to get this inauguration done because rates are going to go down as soon as this happens. So I think 2024, if I had to kind of sum it up, it was like a hurry up and wait kind of year. Everybody was waiting on something. And I think 2025 will be our opportunity to say, hey, this is where we are. And this is where the opportunities exist. So we need to take what we have and let's run with it. Do you agree?
No, I agree 100% on that. That's it's interesting. When at the beginning of 2024, Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve Open Market Committee had set the expectations that they were going to lower interest rates 6 times.
Yep.
And that gave great optimism to buyers that they would not only have a lower interest rate, but it gave them better buying power and it gave them more reasonable house payments. Mm-hmm. And so housing affordability improves. Housing affordability is just the intersection between price, wages, and interest rate. As they come together, that's how affordable something is. And that didn't happen. So the market is going month to month, watching the federal, the committee and the Federal Reserve meeting, and every time they have a meeting, they're waiting for some sort of reduction.
Yep.
And it doesn't happen until September. But when it does happen, they do it a half. And so they're saying, okay, now it's started.
Yeah.
And then it's a quarter, and then they just met in January. And they've already set the expectations, the Fed has, that in 2025, they'll do 2 rate reductions, and it's going to be 0.25% apiece. And the last meeting, which was January, they didn't do anything. Now, that can be a little defeating for purchasers that were anticipating lower interest rates, but it can also be empowering to say, now we know where the interest rate stability is.
Sure.
Let's start looking for advantages now.
Sure. And I also think, with the employment news, they adjusted the numbers for December and January. And, with the employment market still being very strong, we probably are where we're going to be, right, for the year. There's not going to be a 5.5% mortgage rate anytime in 2025. Right?
They 143,000. The jobs report came out just an hour before our podcast, and 143,000 jobs added. Non-farm payroll jobs, and the actual unemployment rate dropped to 4% from 4.1. So it's strong. And then the November, December, as you said, were revised up. So the market's now seeing a continually strong economy, and with that is going to come a more likely scenario that the Fed will not drop rates.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, you have a new administration. You have a little bit of chaos, right? Doesn't matter which side you're on, blue or red. It's chaotic because that's how Donald Trump, manages, and that's okay. It's what the American people voted for. It's what we're in for. And there are just a lot of things, the tariffs. People were a little scared of the tariffs, but the reality is, it seems like he uses them as a threat, and then he tends to get what he wants. So there's a lot of uncertainty, I think, in the market right now, and I think just people are just sitting back and trying to figure out what's going to happen. But I think, a month down the road, or even after the first quarter, people will be like, this is the way it's going to be.
Right.
They're going to be okay with, a 6.5% interest rate, and they're going to move on. And I think we're going to end up with a very strong market this spring and summer.
Yeah, if you could put some goggles on, they could just see past all the noise and not be distracted by all the stuff that's going on. And those goggles could just see opportunity. If you could just see opportunity, and then you act. A lot of times, a lot of the noise creates inactivity, and it provides an opportunity. Sure. So it's when things are peaceful and quiet and things are going well, everybody can see the opportunity. So it provides a whole lot more competition with that opportunity. A lot of times with noise, there's inaction. And with inaction, the opportunity, a lot of folks aren't seeking. So if you want to build a portfolio of wealth, you're acting when everybody else isn't acting. So seeing that opportunity and acting is a whole lot better than being distracted with the noise.
I totally agree. One other thing that's happening out there is the inventory is increasing a little bit, right? Not so much in the Washington metro area, but other areas of the country, we're seeing pretty substantial increase in the inventory. And it's not to the point where it's created a buyer's market, but what it is doing, it's equaling things out a little bit. It's more of a stable real estate environment where, buyers will have more to choose from. And I think that was part of the problem in 2024. Interest rates were high. Inventory was extremely low. There weren't a lot of good choices. So why overpay for bad choices, right? So this year is going to be a totally different story.
Yeah, people were saying, hey, look, I don't have great choices, so there's no sense of great passionate urge to move forward with this product and pay a higher interest rate. And then I'm going to pay a higher interest rate when my expectation is the Fed's going to lower the rates. Now, the Fed doesn't lower the 30-year, but the Fed lowers the short term, which affects the 10-year, which affects the 30-year. So it all works in conjunction with one another. But there has to be a great motivation where somebody says, this is a deal I can't pass up. I'm willing to take the higher interest rate to get this deal. If that's not out there, there's no motivation to move.
Sure. And the industry leaders out there are saying, we sold 4.6 million houses last year, that 2025 is going to be 5.1 million. So a lot more units, still well below where we were pre-pandemic, but yeah, it's going to feel better, I think, by the middle to the end of the year, don't you think?
I do. Interest rates move based on expectations. The market has these expectations. So you'll notice that when the expectation is the Fed's going to lower the rate, the market will move before the Fed even meets. And as long as the Fed does what the market expects, then the rates have already moved. When the market does not expect what the Fed's going to do, then the market reacts differently. The good news about the Fed stating they're going to be very cautious, they're going to move very slowly, and they're only going to move potentially 2 quarter points, is now the rates can start settling down. And we know over the last 50 years, the average is 1.7 above the 10-year Treasury. So if you look at the 10-year Treasury, which this morning was at 4.48, and you add 1.7, that puts rates at 6.18, which would be really nice if they settled down to 6.18. Sure. The market anticipates rates are going to be about 6.36 by the time they settle down. But even in that range, it's a lot better than what we're seeing at 6.8 and 6.9 with all of this expectation in the market. So a lot of times without the excitement, we don't have the fluctuation. And without the fluctuation, people can make informed decisions.
Absolutely. And, not only will there be more choices out there for people, I think the opportunity will be out there for some of those first-time buyers that have really just kind of been priced out of the market right now, even with even at the 6%, which some of those buyers feel like it's a high rate. They're just getting used to it, right? It's like when gas prices go up. For a short period of time, people freak out about it, right? But finally, eventually, they just come to terms with this is what I'm going to have to pay if I want to buy gas, right? Yeah. It's kind of like eggs right now. Have you tried to buy a dozen eggs? Yeah. It's crazy.
But I did try to abduct a chicken.
I think we need a farm is what we need. Sandy has her own farm of chickens and has her own eggs. So, but anyways, I do feel like it's going to give opportunities for some of these kids. I call them kids, but they're 20-something-year-olds who felt like they were priced out of the market, not knowing what to do. My kids are buying their first home, and part of that is they're feeling more comfortable and more optimistic about what's going on, and they're making that they're launching and making that purchase finally.
All markets in respect to real estate are local.
Yeah.
So, like for instance, as far as supply right now, 3.3 months nationwide. However, in a local market, it may be less than 1 month, like it is in Northern Virginia.
Yeah.
In most of the areas, the one thing that isn't local is the interest rates.
Yeah.
So the interest rates is broad across the base, and your mortgage bankers are all dealing with the same opportunities with interest rates, which are pretty steadfast as far as across the board. But the markets, the real estate market itself, an opportunity that's presented is more of a more local. And one thing that a buyer can take advantage of now, and a lot of companies have this, and I know with Fairway, with Rob Heltzel, they have a program where a buyer can buy. Mm-hmm. So even if they're not convinced that interest rate is as low as they would like it to be, they can go ahead and make that purchase. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason they would do that is because there's so many advantages that come with home ownership. And one of those advantages, the equity, the
appreciation.
Appreciation is a percentage of what the property's worth, not what you put into the property.
Sure. Yeah.
So as that appreciation, you have some tax write-offs and that sort of thing with interest and taxes that you pay on real estate taxes. So you can go ahead and lock that in. And then they give you a one-time reset. So if the interest rates do improve in your favor, then you can go ahead and reset at that for very little money.
Yeah. So they're helping you manage the risk.
Yes.
Right. Which is great. So talk to me a little bit about, we talked about interest rates. We talked about different, loan programs that will help kind of mitigate that risk. Talk to me a little bit about if you're an investor out there right now. What should you be thinking?
Yeah. So as an investor, it's interesting because if you have cash, you have to think of the opportunity with your cash. So if you're putting in cash and you're not borrowing the money, that's good. You don't have an interest rate. But what would the opportunity otherwise be with that cash? Now, a lot of folks will keep their money in reserves, keep their powder dry, maybe do a CD or maybe a type of account where it will be more liquid to them. They can continue to have the money, but they're getting a better interest
Which
rate.
is more beneficial at 4.5%, 5%.
Yeah,
and
that's
used to be.
But
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and those CDs and that even the accounts that the money is available to you when you need it, but it's clocking more at a 4% rate. So, what I would say is the opportunity in the market is as a cash buyer, if you can find. If you can, if people are reluctant to buy and you can find a deal and you do the numbers on the property, the good news for investors is the rental market is as tight as the sales market.
Yeah, it's very strong.
So across the board. Now, across the board, you'll see that in the United States, actual rental prices have decreased a bit. However, it's local. What's the opportunity in your current market? So for people that own property, I would say, look at the opportunity in improving what you have.
Okay.
And you take that amount of money. So let's say I can improve a property for $40,000, but I'm going to get $500 more per month. So I would take the 500 times 12, take $6,000 divided by what it cost me, and you'll find out that that's a substantially higher return. Mm-hmm. It's almost like having another investment property under the same roof of your current investment property with no higher bills.
For just doing an upgrade.
But just doing an upgrade. So a lot of times an investor's opportunity is in the investment they already have. I just recently did one where I did the same thing. I was able to put some money into an apartment building, put it into a unit, increased $500 per month of what I got. The return is 40.4%.
Wow.
Well, that money in my own unit at 40.4% is substantially better than the 4.26% that I'm getting at Wells Fargo. So, so the first advantage I'd say is look at your portfolio and see if you can make any changes within the portfolio, whether it be a 1031 exchange, where you can buy another property and defer, the capital gains and the recapture, or can I improve what I have and obtain a higher amount because it's improved? And take that amount of money you put into it, do the numbers, and I think you're going to get a return higher than what you're getting in your reserves. The other is opportunity in the market and being able to strike. Yeah. Right now with sellers are reluctant to sell because they've got low interest rates.
Sure.
Okay. But there's programs out there, national programs, where it's buy before you sell.
Yeah.
And the buy before you sell, and I know Fairway has this with Rob Heltzel as well. They structure an equity loan.
Yep.
That you can actually make your purchase,
and
then sell your property,
and that payment doesn't get counted against you.
And that payment doesn't get counted against you. So I think that our market is so resilient, and the professionals in it, and the companies in it, and, whether it be mortgage folks or title people or real estate professionals, that there is going to constantly be adaptability, which allows opportunity. And when you're frustrated, you're not looking for that opportunity. When you're not frustrated, you are.
Yeah. So let's talk for a minute. Let's put on our broker hats for a minute and talk a little bit about what are the opportunities out there. If you're a real estate agent out there and you're thinking, wow, that last year was a tough year, just not sure about 2025. What are the opportunities you see out there for true real estate professionals this year?
Yeah. So the opportunity in the market, there was we had some litigation last year, as you spoke about earlier, the August 17th deadline. There's such a shakeup that I think that with the current requirements, the professionals in the real estate industry are going to stay.
Yeah.
They're going to adapt to whatever changes there are. They're going to look at them, they're going to accept them, and they're going to move forward. The folks that are fighting, adapting, and doing it wrong are either going to be taken out because they're going to self-eliminate, or the government's going to help them eliminate.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of frustration. I think people that were making money, if they found a buyer, they know they would be paid, and it was that process. I think that if they may just say, I'm not interested in committing $3,500 a year to keep my license current with everything that I have to pay. Local associations, state, national associations, lockbox, and all that sort of thing. I'm just going to go ahead and opt out. And I think so we'll decrease the body of real estate and hopefully improve public perception as to our professionalism. Also, if you sell 500,000 homes more, 4.6 to 5.1 million, 5.1 million is not a lot of homes. We've sold more in the past on a regular average basis. So an extra 500,000 homes with, let's say, 300,000 or 400,000 less agents is going to be more homes per agent.
Sure. Yeah. 2019 was 6 million homes.
Yeah.
So, but if you go from, 4.8 in 2023, 4.6 in 24, you go to 5.1, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel the difference. Right. And then I read an article recently where NAR is predicting that 8% of the real estate industry, real estate agents will decide to leave the business this year as well.
And that's 8% of 1.5 million.
Yeah. So the pie will be this. Well, it'll be a little bigger, right? Yeah. And then each agent will have an opportunity to have a little bigger piece of the pie, which is good.
And what we've seen over the years is the very, very good agents get a very big percentage of the business, and there's a substantial percentage of agents that just don't get any of the business.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also, an opportunity right now is true professionalism, right? So if you want to be in this business, you want to do it right, with people leaving the business, with the market changing, you're going to actually have to do some work, right? So on the seller side, houses start staying on the market a little bit longer. We have people, as you said earlier, that agents that have probably never experienced how you have to market a property long term, right? And so those things are going to actually start happening again as we get closer to a balanced market.
Agents used to boast and say, I put a house on the market and we had 6 offers within an hour, as if that was a condition of their marketing. Now, if their house was the only one to get 6 offers within an hour and the rest of the market was stagnant or a buyer's market, I would say boast.
Yeah.
But when it's a condition of the market, not a condition of your marketing, then I would say better to be a little bit quiet about that.
Absolutely.
Because the sellers are going to catch on.
Yeah, where's your value?
that your value may not be needed. The sign went up, the marketing happened. What did you really have to commit to on a marketing basis? What a marketing agreement did you provide them? What did you do on a regular basis and systematically to get this property sold? Because when it seems that easy, then everybody looks at your job as being easy, your value's less, and everybody wants your job. And what I'm not today, I can be in 30 days, a realtor. Just take a 60-hour class, pass the state and national testing, and you can have that job. And that is like no other profession as far as the educational.
The barrier to entry is very low.
Very low.
For sure. So I think, for the agents that are out there and they understand that, and they're doing a good job with the marketing, and they're doing a good job in representing buyers the way we're supposed to be representing buyers post August 17th. I think it could be a really good year for them.
Yeah, I think it could be awesome. And what Art Grace had said when we were on his podcast, just to repeat what he said, is systems are essential.
Yep.
And so when a real estate agent has systems in place, and when that agent has their marketing in place, when everything that they have is this is the way we do business, it creates a calm with the agent or with the client where the client can say, I feel like you have it under control. Yep. When an agent says, don't worry about anything, I got it. And then they'll say, okay, just what's your system? And they say, I got it right in here. I mean, you'd have to lop their head off to see what the system was.
That's a problem.
We just recently did in our Manassas office, we have a structure where our administrative folks handle a huge portion of the transaction.
Yep.
And our real estate professionals only handle a small portion of it. They only handle what is needed for that real estate professional. Now that's it's still a lot of work.
Sure.
But it's a system. And when you put together that checklist of everything that needs to be done in that system from start to finish, 98.
Yeah.
98 duties.
items. Yeah.
The agent's responsible for 12.
That's quite the checklist.
Yeah, that's quite the checklist.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking at home that I've only got 4 or I've only got 5 or I only have as much as I can remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, maybe with one transaction, the memory process may work.
Yeah.
But you can't do multiple transactions, and you certainly can't set client expectations.
No. And that's what sets them apart, right?
Right.
The ability to have a system and the ability to follow through with the system.
Yeah, your great agents are ones that have a system, can show you that system, set expectations, and they will and those expectations will be realized. And then people want to refer to that agent because you delivered what you said you would deliver.
Yep. And you're creating a long-term relationship with that
Absolutely.
person. Yeah. Well, why don't you summarize for us, Forrest, kind of 2025, and I can't wait to watch this in February of 2026 and see how right you were.
Well, I see the market. I see after any presidential election, regardless of who wins, the market has a good year. So I see us having a good year. The builders, there's challenge with the builders. I think there was a study done recently where just for a builder to build the product in the United States, the average was $329,000. So if you consider $329,000 and then you say, well, now I have to buy the land to put that house on, okay, and then there may be proffers. There may be proffers or the municipality saying you have to contribute because you're impacting a community.
Schools,
the whole thing. Let's just say without any proffers, that may be $450,000. The issue with affordable housing, with entry-level housing, is not going to be solved on the builder level with those types of costs. So I think the housing, the builders are going to help with the housing shortage. But I don't think it's going to be on the entry level. I think the entry level is going to be more filled with life happens and sellers put their house on the market. So I see more homes going on the market as we have a baby boomer population that is aging, which is a huge amount of people.
And they're tired of waiting.
Right. They never set the expectation of their life dreams and goals based around a once-in-a-lifetime interest rate of a low amount. And I think they're going to realize that even though my payment, my P&I payment, principal and interest payment, is small, my taxes are going up on that property. The insurance, everybody's insurance across the board, a lot of them are doubling.
Yeah.
Then they have the maintenance. Now they have this big home where they have a low interest rate, but they also have the utilities that are more. So when they calculate what that really costs compared to taking their equity and moving forward and having a very small mortgage at a higher rate, I think a lot of the baby boomers are going to say, it's time to move on. My life expectancy, as far as my goals and my dreams, I want to be closer to the kids.
Yeah, quality of life.
Quality of life. Yeah. There's going to be divorce. There's going to be death. There's going to be job transfers. There's movement in the Northern Virginia area now because of some rulings that are going on with the government, which may create some job movement. So I think there's going to be opportunity. The 5.1 million homes, it's going to be good. There's going to be additional homes, but I think it's going to exceed that personally. I think interest rates are going to be steady to a point where it's not a huge event every time the Fed meets.
Sure.
Therefore, the expectation won't move the rates just because of the emotions of it. So it's going to be more
stability. Yeah.
More stability. I think the mortgage companies are figuring this out.
Yeah.
More buyers are going to buy with the confidence they have that one-time reset. I think sellers, even with a low inventory that are moving to a different area, are going to see the opportunity to take advantage of, let me go ahead and buy that property and sell later. So I see a better market. I see more product coming on the market. I see a lot of optimism. And I just see a healthy real estate market across the board. I don't think in certain areas that we're going to have such a supply that it's going to decrease prices.
Yeah.
But I think on a national average, the 2.9% appreciation is probably a very realistic number.
Which is more in line with what we're used to, right?
Yeah. So long term, even in Ninja, Larry Kendall says his study is at 5% growth long term over time. So the 2.9%. Now, where the 2.9 stings is that it's 2.9 on top of the appreciation that's already happened, and we were in double digits in some of those years.
Yeah.
So that can be kind of tough. But wages are supposed to go up 3.9% this year as well. So as we start seeing the wages increase, then that intersection of price, the housing cost and the interest rate can be a little bit more affordable. The housing affordability actually fell to 99% from 102%. So it's getting a little less affordable until it gets better.
Yeah, and which it will. All right, well, I look forward to a great year and really appreciate everything and looking forward to working with you, my friend.
You too, Lonnie.
It's gonna
Thank
be
you
fun.
very much.
Yeah. All right, John, take us out.
So that is a wrap for episode 11. Happy 2025. I look forward to what 2025 brings for this podcast. Again, make sure if you're following on Spotify, YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bells, and make sure you share this more than anything with all your friends if you found any of this information helpful. And again, thank you for tuning in to RE in Real Time.
That's
Thanks,
awesome.
John.
Every
Appreciate
time. It never gets old, does it?